You've probably heard me mention Uphold before, and there's a reason I keep talking about them. Uphold makes it incredibly easy to bridge the gap between your portfolio and the real world. This has not been done before. Their Uphold Debit Card is the best example of that. It lets you spend your crypto or your cash anywhere Visa is accepted, all while earning 4% back in XRP on every purchase. It's the easiest way to stack rewards on your daily spending. Download the Uphold app for more and get started. Let's just jump right into it today. This is going to be something that unfortunately may be coming to head in reference to clarity. And will it fail? Because we are at that point right now, guys. As you guys know, this is the week for all of this to either happen or not happen. I have some inside information that is now giving us a little bit of a direction on this. Want to do a quick podcast to kind of give you an update on it. And let's just get going. All right, so a couple of points I want to hit on first that really kind of go into the whole concept of what's really happening in DC right now. And it is boiling down to the Senate Democrats, and they are in a rooted out position right now in terms of blocking the Clarity Act. So the likelihood of a cloture vote getting across the line is probably the lowest that I have seen so far. And from some of the people that I'm talking to this afternoon, a Senate floor cloture vote on clarity is, I think, set to fail. And this is coming from a unified bloc of Senate Democrats. We're also looking at political donations and PAC influence that basically have no impetus anymore. There's just nothing that's moving the needle right now. I'm also seeing quite a bit of negativity coming out of the traditional crypto X. And that, of course, has been coming from some of the big proponents out there. Brian Armstrong just recently tweeted the issue of let's try to get this across the line. And again, it's kind of a last ditch effort. Remember, Republicans hold a 53 seat majority in reference to this, and all they need is at least 7 to 9 Democrats that would cross over, and that would be if they don't lose any seats. Right now, we are seeing Senator Lummis talk about trying to retain those seats, so that in itself could be huge around actual Republicans defecting late in the game. And even when you look at the previous Democrat supporters from the banking committee, and that includes Gallego, also Brooks, Senator also Brooks, they've also signaled that the latest drafts still remain insufficient. And that's the problem that we are facing right now, is that this cloture vote is getting further and further away. And remember that banking has been pretty much the primary situation that has pushed back against this. And if you look at just the Senate banking panel and how it passed the Clarity Act going into the Senate, it was 15-9. And there was still quite a bit of pushback that was coming in. And I think the point has now expanded much more definitive to just stablecoin yields. You hear me talk about this all the time, is the ethics conflict, but now illicit finance is starting to creep in the last week of the Clarity Act possibility here. And if illicit finance is starting to make its way in, this is one of those things that I think will draw in a lot of attention, especially from both Republicans and Democrats, that will make it feel as though they did something that helped the American people, when in reality, this is not helping the American people. Now, remember, the ethics and conflict of interest safeguards that were pretty much laid out, the demands that were put on the Trump administration was executive branch officials, including lawmakers, and their immediate families would be restricted from holding or promoting any kind of private token ventures. That, I think, has been agreed to. The other key friction was the compromises around these blind trusts. And I'm not sure to what extent the language has moved into this, but what I'm hearing is there's a lot more sensitivity around this because the Senate Democrats see this as a very heavy loophole area that could be sidestepped again by this administration. And the point behind illicit finance, which is where we get into the AML side of things, anti-money laundering. This, of course, is, Senator Warren. She's been the champion of this forever. And I think she is now starting to make her way in. Her and Mark Warner both are arguing against that the text basically lacks the requirement for this secondary intermediaries. That is the problem that they are facing right now. And it's starting to show up in a handful of Democrat lawmakers and much of their staffers that are now hearing from is that this looks like the friction is not going to be overcome. This puts a lot of pressure on them trying to get this done before the end of the week. And I do not think at the current state, unless there is a breakthrough, a last minute breakthrough, that we see anything of this type making it to the floor for a vote. So that's where we are right now, guys. This is unfortunate that we are bringing you this news because I think when you look at the PAC money and what the shift is right now for what Fair Shake was trying to do, really repositioning, I just wonder if we're going to see a reformat of how much of the crypto lobbies will be going into the midterms. And I think the voter based dynamics are really going to start to change as well, because this is going to get into a hardline stance against unregulated yields, which many people will now know that's going to be out there, because if we don't get this passed, the yield play is still intact. And most of these organizations are doing it, kind of without any kind of guide rails. And that, of course, puts everything on the SEC and the CFTC to get this thing moving forward. Other thing is that I think we're going to continue to see the prediction market collapse, and this is in reference to this itself. So the odds are continuing to fall. We'll most likely see this drop under 20%, maybe within the next 24 hours. So these stalls are happening, and it looks as though it is increasing, even though some of the outreach that is coming through DC right now is coming from different people. So I'm going to try to cover more on this. I've been back and forth with DC a couple of times today, just in reference to who is seeing certain senators and certain lawmakers making any kind of last ditch effort. And it does not appear as though they are. So the banks may have won, guys, on this one. So prepare for something unless we get a breakthrough. And I think the breakthrough will come in the ethics provisions. So stay tuned for that.